TBD. We're in week number 2, day number 3. I'm Malphus X, being joined here by Studio, and our next game is going to be To Be Determined, taking on Curse Academy.
Going to be an interesting match indeed. To Be Determined has actually a worse win rate than Curse Academy at this point, but they've also had a lot of problems when it comes to just playing their games. They had the debacle last week where it turns out Broken Shard was ringing on a different account. They had the issue with the 4v5 versus Velocity. They've had just trouble playing the game, not even when it came to individual skill, but just getting in the game and finishing it off. However, Curse Academy, they're 2-3. They have a better score. I do think To Be Determined is coming into this, though, with the advantage because despite their losses, they're still a strong team, and they've also gone up against the best. Maybe they didn't fare so well, but they've still got their experience behind them.
All right, so as we take a look here at the bans coming out, Aatrox, Nidalee, and Kassadin being banned away from Curse Academy. Bans going back the other way will be Zyra, Gragas, and To Be Determined. see what it...
Nice. It's a good one. It's a good one.
That was... I feel bad about that one. I feel shameful. I feel shamed. So Nidalee getting banned out from only Jaximus. The Aatrox is I believe that's a target ban at Wombat Brad's jungle. Jungle Aatrox, the Kassadin also getting banned away from Jaximus. And the final ban is going to be Vladimir. So 2 target bans going out towards Arthalon in the form of Gragas and Vladimir. They're going to take the Zyra away from Bubba, and the first pick is going to be an immediate lock-in on that Elise.
Now, what's really interesting about that Gragas ban is that only Jaximus is a huge Gragas player. Like, normally he will ask people not to ban Gragas versus him, so they're that scared of Arthalon. And we've seen Arthalon's Gragas. It is terrifying that they're willing to ban it out and sacrifice their own play because of the threat of Arthalon. And guess what? Zed was left open. Zed was someone who made it through the bans, not first pick. They wanted the Elise going for the Broken Shard jungle. And that's a scary pick to let through. Most people would not let a Zed out of any game whatsoever. They want him in the ban phase permanently. So it's weird to see him, A, get through bans, and it's also weird to see him, B, make it all the way to Curse Academy on the purple side.
And you kind of have to wonder, whenever you see something like that happen, do TBD have a plan? Do they already know exactly what they want to do against that Zed? They definitely seem to have a plan as far as what they actually want to pick, as they just immediately lock in the Varus Fiddlesticks, going to be their bottom lane combination.
They could have a specific counter pick in mind. We've seen a lot of counter picks to a Zed, like Darius. But the problem is, even if you beat Zed in lane, that's not what it takes to stop a Zed. You have to shut him down for the entire 30 or 40 minutes of the game, because if you don't, he will farm very easily with his skill set, and he will still be able to blow up an AD carry or a support with relatively no effort.
All right, guys, taking a look here. They're showing Vayne. They're going to lock the Vayne, and there's the Vayne Jarvan is going to be the next combination. So we're going to be seeing Vayne Thresh coming out of the bottom lane here for the side of Curse Academy. And they've got Jarvan going into the jungle. They've got Zed going into one of the solo lanes. Not necessarily sure which one yet, as he is a little bit flexible that way.
Rux has played a bit of Zed himself, so it's going to be interesting to see where they put him. And I do like the Vayne Thresh lane against the Fiddlesticks. Fiddlesticks is a great offensive support. You land one Dark Wind and does a tremendous amount of damage if you get good bounces. However, one death sentence from Thresh, and you know what? Fiddlesticks dies, especially if it's happening near the wall in a brush war in the 2v2 lane, because Vayne can very easily follow that up with a condemn. So definitely a solid pick for the bot lane.
And they're showing right now, they're showing Westrice as Akali. I'd be a little surprised to see this actually get picked up. But who knows? I mean, he has been playing it, of late. What do you think about an Akali pick?
Akali is a terrifying pick if you don't know what you're going up against, because they can just pick a lane that will destroy Akali, and Akali is someone who she has to get out of control to really be effective. You can't have her just sit in the top lane, farm it up, and play a Jax later on who will just win a team fight almost on his own. Akali does get locked in, though, so they're feeling confident, and Karma's also locked in as well. Don't know if that's a placeholder ban at this, or pick at this point, just because we've seen competitive Akali yesterday coming out of Complexity. So is this the new meta? Have we entered the phase of Akali, or Akali and Karma? Like, is this what we're going to be seeing from now on, Malphus? This would be a weird trend to happen over the course of a day.
We're going to have to check it out and see. I'm trying to find somebody on TBD and my friends list here that I can message to make sure no proxy picks. Just going to make sure, as you mentioned, and I have seen so many people playing Karma on solo queue of late as well. I was watching Bjergsen stream a little bit earlier, and he was playing that. So there's the confirmation from Robert X. Lee. No proxy picks. So it is Akali and Karma are going to be the 2 solo lanes here. So I'm assuming that that's going to mean Arthalon is going to be playing Karma in the mid lane, and it's going to be Westrice grabbing that Akali up for the top lane. We could maybe potentially see them swap the lanes around. I know that Westrice actually prefers to play Akali in the mid lane if he's going to be playing Akali. But I would imagine with the fact that it's going to be Karma, I don't see Karma being a top lane pick The counter pick coming out here from Curse Academy is going to be the Rumble for Rux.
I do see Karma being a good 1v2 champion, though, because she has a lot of wave clear. She's hard to kill underneath the turret because of her root and her speed boost from the shield. So she can very well work in a 1v2 lane just because of her range and her ability to survive that 1v3 tower dive. So that might be where we see Arthlon end up with that Karma pick if they do want to force Westrice to get to the mid lane and just play that safer lane. The thing with Akali versus Rumble, Akali actually does a lot more damage than Rumble earlier on in the game, but Rumble doesn't have to get into melee range to do a lot of his damage. He just has to land 1 or 2 electro harpoons. He can follow that up with some flame spitter and just shred him down fast. So the lanes are going to be the big thing here, and I don't know if they're going to be confident enough to shut down a Zed, but maybe their plan is to let him get powerful and just use Akali's utility and the damage from, or not Akali, Karma's utility and the damage from Akali to try and turn that around.
All right, guys, so we do have our lineup set. For the side of To Be Determined, it's going to be Westrice playing Akali in the top lane, Broken Shard's going to have Elise in the jungle, Arthlon's playing Karma in the mid lane, and the bottom lane combination will be Robert X. Lee and Bubba Dub playing Varus and Fiddlesticks. Over on the side of Curse Academy, it's going to be Rux playing Rumble in the top lane. The jungle is going to be Wombat Brad on Jarvan. Mid lane is going to be only Jacksmith playing Zed. And the bottom lane combination will be Fabi and Satsulo playing Vayne and Thresh. We're going to take a quick commercial break here, guys. When we come back, it's going to be our second game of the night between To Be Determined and Curse Academy. We're not going to worry about it. Everybody's buying their items. They're heading back out onto the Rift. We're finally going to get this game started up. Once again, it is TBD taking on Curse Academy.
Oh, I have to give Arthlon credit, too. He is using the best Karma skin, the Mayan-inspired Karma. The Pro Karma. Credit for that. Not a superior
Sun
Karma
Goddess
player.
Karma?
Sun Goddess Karma, yeah.
Oh.
One of the few Latin-inspired skins. We'll go with that.
I'm also a big fan of that Arclight Varus right out there ahead of him by Robert X. Lee. That's a fancy one.
Both teams moving forward. The standard will be spotting out for Curse Academy as To Be Determined, looking for their own ward coverage. Satsulo is chased out by Broken Shard Spider.
See Bubba Dub going to get that ward down into the Wraith Brush. Going to get chased out here. Wombat Brad going to eat a Q from Arthlon and a Q from Robert X. Lee. Going to take a pretty healthy amount of poke, but he's not going to be too concerned about that one yet. So he's roaming back around with the rest of his team. They're looking like they want to get a couple of wards down, but the fact that they spotted out Westrice early on made them feel a little uncomfortable about going in to get any of those wards down. Pink ward going into the brush here on the river, and Satsulo looks like he's going to get a solo ward down onto the blue buff, while the rest of the team make sure that mid tower doesn't take any damage.
Wombat Brad has been eating Varus Qs. Ate a second one, actually. Arthlon might have been going for a poke right there. But this is kind of interesting. They know that Wombat Brad had to go back because he was low on HP. So they might be looking for a catch, looking for an invade to wait in some brush, but it looks like To Be Determined will be taking the safe route. As Satsulo got quite a bit of ward coverage. I think this is always Satsulo that does this, but when he tries to ward aggressively at the start of the game, he will cover all possible entrances, so they can't try and sneak out a 1v2. And it looks like Karma will be taking the solo lane as the rest of To Be Determined has kind of spread out across the bottom side of the map.
Either that or Arthlon is just checking out and make sure nobody steals by the blue buff. He's just popped a mantra. They're going to take 3 buffs at level 1. It's going to be the objective here. They've got, Broken Shard is going up there. He wants to take away the opposing blue buff. They've got Karma and Akali taking down this blue buff, and they're still going to have access to the red buff after this is done. So this is an extremely aggressive opening here by To Be Determined, but it doesn't look like they're going to get punished for it at all. Broken Shard smiting away that blue buff. Arthlon's going to have blue buff as he heads back to base, and Westrice is indeed going to be the one going to the mid lane. So they want to put Arthlon into the 2v1. They want a 2v1 against the Rumble, and they want to have Akali taking on Zed 1v1.
This is an impressive setup. What makes this even better is that Wombat Brad, he's so low on HP. He took a lot of harass going to his own blue buff that it's going to be hard for him to gank quickly at that top turret, and he can't steal a blue buff, so Wombat Brad is essentially going to do nothing at the start of this game. I love this. I love this beginning because all of a sudden every lane is in control, except Westrice is low in the mid lane. That is the one problem with his plan because he did tank a bit of the blue buff.
We'll have to see exactly how that matchup goes. Bubba Dub gonna get the silence down. Rock's gonna eat the piercing arrow as well. Robert X. Lee and Bubba Dub doing what they can to poke him at range while they zone him back out and get as much farm as possible. Westrice in the mid lane, just doing everything he can to avoid the poke from Jackson. Is gonna take both those Qs, but they did both filter through a creep first, so he's not gonna take too much damage from that one.
He's hoping just to move forward, just to at least get experience, eventually pick up the Shroud at level 4, which will make his CSing a little bit safer. The problem is if he doesn't have the Shroud, then Jack Smith can just initiate because he does need the damage from Crescent Slash to try and fend him off.
So you see Arthlon in the top lane is going to get hooked. He's going to get pulled back in. Here's the Monster Q coming out. Will it be enough slow? Yes, indeed it will. Satsalo taking a lot of damage from that one. We see, meanwhile, in the jungle, Broken Shard trying to get onto Wombat Brad. Wombat Brad going to be able to flag and drag himself over the wall. Broken Shard has just taken a dominant position. He's been just controlling this lane completely. Rux knows he's in a 3v1 now. He knows he's caught out. He's level 2. There's the Fear coming down. There's the Cocoon as well. Bubba the one taking up the tower. He's going to get himself to the edge. Will he clear in time? Yes. No, he does clear it a little bit too early there. Robert X. Lee going to be the next one to take up the tower, losing most of his HP. Wombat Brad falling down incredibly low. Robert X. Lee almost dying to creeps, but going to be able to get himself away from that one. Wombat Brad's now the one hiding behind the tower. Robert X. Lee looking like he's going to pill back, not going to try to shoot in any of those piercing arrows. They force Wombat Brad back out. Robert X. Lee is going to cancel his pill, come back out. Meanwhile, Arthlon just doing what he can to try to nuke down this creep wave at range and not allow Satsalo the opportunity to engage on him. Westrice harassing Jaximus, using the Shroud there to step in, use the E to proc the Q, and then just back away.
Try to get some more lane control, but that dive was all based off Jarvan being low on HP and also under level because he's had no buff control besides his early red buff. So because Jarvan did not have level 3, because he did not have a whole lot, Arthlon almost laying the tether top lane, just dealing a little bit of harass, but because they knew Jarvan was so low, Roberto survived with almost no HP. Had Wombat Brad leveled up, he could have chased after that and secured that kill, made a 1-for-1 exchange. So very solid play coming out from To Be Determined, really snowballing the fact that Wombat Brad has been irrelevant this early part of the game.
And that's not something you see very often. Jarvan is such a strong early game aggressive jungler. For Broken Shard to just completely dominate him like this and take total control of his jungle and then force that 3v1 dive is just, you know, a testament to his skill as a player.
I mean, he chased them out going for the 3v1 dive. Like, in preparation, they already had Wombat Brad low before the fight even broke out bot lane. They do have Broken Shard in the mid lane looking for Jaximus. Maybe looking for him to use that Living Shadow.
Yeah, exactly. They're just waiting for him to use that W. If at any point he uses that to harass Westrice, he's going to have a hard time. Up in the top lane, Arthlon is having a decent time of it in the 2v1. As he's controlling this, you know, pretty well. A little bit ahead of CS on Rux, who is his opposing number in the 2v1 lanes. But he's just been trying to nuke it down as best he can. And there's the flash forward coming out from Bubba. Bubba going to get the Fear. His Heaven Time's rotated down. The Cocoon lands. Rux is in a lot of trouble here. Going to try to run them away from his own tower. Not sure what he was trying to get done there, but it's not going to be anything as Robert X. Lee picks up his second kill of the game.
Rux knew he was dead, so at that point, the only thing he could hope for was to run towards the creep line and get some experience. Like, that was his only option. Energy versus energy match the mid lane. Westrice has taken a lot of harass from Jaximus. However, they do have Wombat Brad to follow up.
And there's the flash from Westrice.
Alright, so a summoner is burned. Westrice going to have some trouble chasing. Does hit level 6 though, so if he sees his chance, I was going to say you could go for Jaximus at this point, but Jaximus hit level 6 himself, so if he sees his chance, he will probably at best go 1-for-1.
Exactly, yeah, and you know, Akali, as soon as she dings 6, it's not like Zed where she gets a massive power spike. But once she hits 6, she gets, you know, 1 Shadow Dance, and that's it. She has to wait a little while longer for the rest of those charges to you know, join that one. And then she has an opportunity to really try to go in and make something happen here. So we see Westrice right now trying to take a look. It won't show me, actually, the number of counts he has here in spectator mode, so I'm not sure. There he's going in on a Jaximus, going to immediately use the Shroud to get away from this one. Jaximus is going to drop the Living Shadow and abort that fight.
Something to note is that Mark of the Assassin at this point will deal a little bit more damage than Zed can output, especially if he's used a Shuriken to CS. So without that Shuriken up, he's a very easy target for a quick burst of harass. At the same time, Westrice has to be careful if he goes in with that Mark of the Assassin and then tries to get the ultimate to deal more DPS, he might just find himself ultied by Jaximus and dying in response, as Broken Shard now going to very cleanly take this dragon. They do have Wombat Brad in the area, but it's a level 4 Jarvan versus a level 5 Elise and the 2 members of the bot lane for To Be Determined fighting that dragon.
Yeah, Broken Shard's going to be able to get that. They turn around and chase the Jarvan back out. And, you know, Westrice, you got to give him some credit here. That Doran Shield start combined with the passive spell vamp that he gets from being Akali is done so much work. Despite how heavily he was harassed down, he's got a pretty healthy amount of HP. Going back in here, they're going to try to make something happen in the jungle. Wombat Brad has to flash out over the wall. Satsalo was exhausted, trying to get himself back out. Uses the Dark Passage to get Wombat Brad back out. The hail of arrows plus the auto attack gets the kill for Robert X. Lee. Westrice dives in. Robert X. Lee picks up his second kill. Westrice throws the Shroud over the wall to reveal Fabi, but will not be able to make anything happen there as the rest of the team backs away. They're going to be content to take their second blue steal of the game. This one going over to Robert X. Lee. We see, meanwhile, Fabi's continuing to chase them back out, thinking maybe they have an opportunity to make something happen with Jacksmus, but they're going to recognize that they cannot close the gap fast enough. They're going to back away. Jacksmus continuing to chase down to Westrice, uses the shadow. There's the ultimate coming out. Westrice goes into the shroud. There's the pink ward, going to get revealed. They don't get enough damage now. Cocoon onto Jacksmus. Jacksmus going to get feared up. Bubba Dub throws down the silence. They don't want to continue this fight. They don't have any major damage dealers. They just want to get Westrice back out and secure the red buff for Broken Shard.
Jackson is a little bit too slow with that pink ward, didn't have the vision to actually follow up while that death mark was active. So he got Westrice slow, but he needed to get those auto attacks in to really take him down. So unfortunate to see that happen. Still though, a good escape from Westrice, good backup from Broken Shard and Bubba Dub to secure the Zed escape. Because frankly, most people don't escape from a Zed once he has gone in. This does give a chance for Fabi and Jaximus though, start pushing down towards that mid turret to try and get at least a bit more global gold in. They should be able to take it down because they do have Sadzlo joining them, but they're still behind by 2.8k, and frankly, it's not the Akali that's snowballing out of control. Actually, Arslan is caught up in the top lane though.
One by Brad has the red buff down. We see the equalizer being used as well to continue damaging and slowing Arthalon. Arthalon going to use the root to give himself a pretty decent amount of HP. Flashes over a wall. Jackson is trying to chase this one back down. Doesn't have his ultimate yet. The cocoon lands, and that's going to be the end of the aggression here. But they're trying to secure, for the first time this game, 2 buffs in 1 rotation. Broken Shard flashes forward, picks up the blue buff with his smite, as he is just being an absolute jerk to the entire side of Curse Academy.
Flash smite. I don't know if that was necessarily worth it. Westrice is caught up though. They do have a great lantern coming out from Sadzlo, who does manage to get Jacksmith over the wall. Unfortunately, the silence came out from Fiddlesticks, and with the fear and the silence and the fact that the team was broken up, that was going to be a very difficult engage. I do love the Flash Smite just because it's not even about preventing the buff from going to someone important. It's about preventing the experience. Like, Jarvan could use blue buff, it's good on him, but not a huge deal compared to other characters, like, let's say, mid lane, or an Anivia mid lane, as actually Jacksmith takes some harass from Westrice. But it's just denying him experience. It's denying him that little bit of experience he needs to get level 6 faster.
So you see Westrice has picked up the Hextech Revolver and is working in towards the Seeker's Arm Guard there. First item is on his Hourglass, makes a lot of sense against Jacksmith. Westrice diving in under the tower to get a pretty significant amount of damage back down, only in return for taking that tower shot, as Jacksmith has just not had a lot of options as far as getting counter-harassed down onto Westrice.
And right now, if he procs and marks the Assassin, Westrice does about 300 damage with that. You factor in the ultimate, the Shadow Dance, that's going to be an extra 140. So he's doing about 450 per harass. And Jacksmith, even though Zed has a lot of impressive burst damage, it does take some items to get to that point, and it also does take the ultimate to really utilize it. So he's just behind in overall harass. They do have Arthalon in their sights for Curse Academy top lane. As one by Brad has roamed there, Rux ready for that gank.
Rux has got the ultimate available as well, going to throw it down. Isn't going to put it in the best position, but doesn't look like they need it. So they use the Cataclysm to lock Arthalon down. Rux going to be the one to pick up that kill as one by Brad. Yeah, he picks up his first assist of the game, and that's, I think he pretty desperately needed something to make him more relevant.
I mean, his first assist, his first kill, look at his inventory. He has 36 CS. A Sightstone, and a Doran Blade and Boots is what he's bringing to these fights. He also has a Vision Ward in case of an Akali gank, which can be very helpful for taking her down. But if you look bot lane, I mean, Broken Shard is just having so much more impact in this game.
So we see up in the top lane, Westrice diving in onto Rux. Rux taking so much damage, the Ignite is down. Rux going to flash over the wall. There's the flash follow-up coming out from Westrice. He cleans up that Rumble very, very quickly. And, you know, of the 2 solo laners that we weren't really expecting, you gotta say, Westrice's Akali having a much better time of it.
Westrice's Akali has been called dirty. That was the word for Westrice's Akali. Season 1, Season 2, it'd pop up, it'd win a game, then it would disappear for a few months just because she's not necessarily the most meta-appropriate character. Jacksmith in the mid lane does flash forward his living down, so a good summoner burn right there. And his Akali, he knows the output of the character. He knows when he can go forward, what he can survive, what will kill him. And like, look how quickly Rux had to disengage. One by Brad didn't even try and save him. And it was flash for a kill, and the burn flash, but he just knew that he could very easily take them in a 1v2, and that's just knowledge of character. Akali's not very commonly seen either, so chances are the members of the Curse Academy don't really know what she can do in a lot of situations.
That might be the first cocoon that we've seen Broken Shard miss, as he's just been all over the place with those all game long. We're going to see Dragon's going to be respawning in about 38 seconds here. So at this point, TBD are mostly concerned with taking over vision control in the jungle on this side of the map and just completely denying Curse Academy even the opportunity to get anywhere near this dragon to either ward it or be in position to contest it for a fight. We see Westrice is roaming down from the top lanes. He's going to try to take this up. The third blue steal of the game is now going down for the side of to be determined. They are picking that one up. That one's going to go over to Robert X as well. One by Brad using the standard. Bubba going to go ahead and use the ultimate right on top of one by Brad while he's feared. Bubba the one to pick that kill up with the Crow Storm. And just like that, Dragon's 5 seconds out. Looks like TBD have got this one wrapped up.
Dragon's 5 seconds out. The smite is down for Broken Shard, but they killed one bad Brad, so it's A-okay. Going to be an easy Dragon for them, unless they decide trying to initiate a 4v5 while behind without their jungler able to smite steal. They do not know that Broken Shard used his smite on the blue buff as well. So it's going to be a very easy pickup. They don't even send 4 members down there. They all just spread up one back to farming with the exception of Bubba Dub, who's going to be helping out Broken Shard, who is actually taken fairly low in that Dragon pickup. But the problem is that one Brad is so far behind that they're not even trying to set up traps for him necessarily. Like earlier, Roberto revealed himself just trying to harass him and take wolves from him. And he's just fallen so far behind this game. Not the lowest level, that is going to Satsuma at level 6 and Bubba Dub at level 6 as well. But he's just not relevant. He's not tanky enough to survive anything. And frankly, Jarvan does do good damage, but he needs at least a little bit of experience. He needs to get the max level Dragon Strike to really be useful in these DPS races.
So Brad's going to go ahead and grab himself up a red buff. Robert Exley immediately picking up his team's red buff and looking like he's headed towards the blue buff as well. Nope, just heading back down the lane. The blue buff should be respawning relatively soon. And I feel so bad for Curse Academy. They have not had a single blue buff the entire game. Now, granted, there's no one on their team that really desperately needs it, but as you mentioned before, it's all about the experience. Wombat Brad has not had the safety to even farm his own jungle with any confidence whatsoever. Arthlon going to go ahead and grab that up for himself. And because Robert X. Lee has been funneled the last 2 blue buffs from the side of Curse Academy, he's able to just continue to spam out piercing arrows. He's able to continue spamming out hails of arrows, and he's just been an absolute monster on that hyper poke Varus.
I mean, Piercing Arrow is an amazing skill, especially if you max out first like Roberto has done. It's doing 600 damage, 550 maybe, when he lands it before the mitigation comes into play. So that is coming out every few seconds. There is no mana to prevent him from casting it because Varus actually does have pretty devastating mana issues if you try and spam out his spells. And he's just going to town. He's having the time of his life just trying to harass them down in lane. They're not even using Karma for poke because they have a Varus for poke, which is just not what you commonly see him used for. He's good at it. He's great at it. But normally he runs out of mana, and this is just not a problem when you keep funneling him blue buffs.
You see, he does have to be very careful. Doesn't want to get initiated on by Wombat Brad. Wombat Brad, the one thing he can still do at this point is EQ and ult. But if he does, it's going to be almost a sure death. We see the death sentence does land on Arthlon. He flashes over the flame. The equalizer comes down where he was. Bubba going to get in there with the Crow Storm. How much damage can he do? Broken Shard picks up the kill on the Satsulo. Robert X. Lee goes unstoppable as he picks up his 5th kill. This one going on to Wombat Brad. And the rest of Curse Academy are on the run right now. Jackson has used his ultimate. Didn't get anything for it in return. Robert X. Lee has just about run out of mana at this point as his blue buff has indeed expired. But the rest of members of TBD, they're just hanging out. They're fine.
They took very little damage. Frankly, Arthlon took the brunt of the harass, but he landed his Q. He escaped with a flash, and that was it. They had no follow-up once Jarvan went in, once Thresh landed that death sentence and followed through with it. They had to make a play, though. Curse Academy, I think they realized they're in a dangerous spot because they're so far behind. Jackson is actually going down top lane. Does he have an answer for Westrice? Westrice is taken down low by the turret. I guess he ran out of the Shadow Dance charges, would just refresh right now, actually. So he could have almost gotten that kill had it come 2 seconds later, but the problem really is Curse Academy knows they're behind, so they're going for the plays.
Bubba Dub getting sped up here. Will not be able to find a fear. That's one other thing that we haven't talked about is the terrifying nature of an initiation from either a Fiddlesticks or an Elise that simply run faster than you could ever hope to run. That's one of the other big strengths of the Inspire coming out from Arthlon. Doesn't necessarily have to be a team-wide Inspire. Can save that mantra to get an AoE slow and a decent amount of damage down with the Q. Can just use it to speed up the initiator, either the range CC coming out from Elise or the range CC coming out from Fiddlesticks. Or it could even be Robert X. Lee if he decides that he wants to go just Superman mode, step right up to the front, use that chain of corruption to start the fight.
The Inspire it's such a good spell in terms of utility and what it provides, but because it's so insane, you don't really think about it for what it does. You just think about it as the shield that makes you go fast. But you're right, it can be used for initiation. It can be used for disengage. It's actually now Westrice just going to town. He doesn't need to get kills off this. He just needs to get harassed down, and they can push off that. That's what we saw earlier happen with the harass from Roberto X. Lee. He just kept landing piercing arrows, would take down Satsulo and one by Brad to about half HP. And that's how that last fight started out. They were almost dead when they won in, so obviously the cleanup was going to be easy. They do have Jack Smith in the bot lane looking for either farming or possibly a kill on Roberto. Roberto will be walking away from that wave, either sensing something or deciding, you know what, my team's all mid lane. Let's go win the game.
Ooh, Fabi almost getting locked up by that cocoon there. That could have been a pretty dangerous situation. See, Wombat Brad having to use the EQ to get over the wall to make sure that Broken Shard isn't able to get an initiation now. Westrice's Gunblade is now back up as Wombat Brad's doing everything he can to clear the creep wave out and prevent his tower from getting pushed. And it looks like he will be relatively successful as they do run out of creeps. The rest of TBD look for something else to do. But at this point, it's an 8,000 gold gap between the two sides. What can Curse Academy do to get themselves back in this game, Studio?
They're going to need a Jarvan ultimate underneath the turret. That or pick off. They do have good pick off potential with Jarvan, with Thresh, but they have to actually catch someone out on their own. And frankly, if you look over it, to be determined, they have not been isolated. Very rarely have you seen a person on their own, and usually it's in a relatively safe spot, like Roberto being bot lane a minute ago or so. So they have to just go for the fight underneath the turret, pray it works out, and hey, if they win a fight, maybe they can try and do something. But right now, on any open ground and any sort of even engagement, they will lose, and they will lose pretty harshly.
So we see Arthlon at this point is just continuing to spam Qs, both of the mantred and unmantred variety. Hail of Arrows going down, providing yet another field of slow. Root not going to be able to complete onto Wombat Brad. Arthlon just doing what he can to be as obnoxious as possible. Even the Fiddlesticks Dark Wind, bringing me back to some horrifying memories of playing on the Arrow map as it bounces around between a couple people trying to keep that tower healthy.
The thing with the Dark Wind, too, is it's the silence that's deadly right now. Because even if it's not dealing that much damage, and it actually does an okay amount, they know that if they initiate, if To Be Determined initiates when the silence is going on with members of the enemy team, their disengage, their counter-initiation will be very broken up. They won't be able to reliably initiate with, say, a Death Mark or even Jarvan's ultimate if the fear is or if the silence is bouncing around.
Equalizer goes down, Bubba Up going to get locked up and pulled back in. Satsalo's going to be the one to fall down first. Broken Shard picks that kill up. Jackson's going to get himself back to the other side of the fight after assassinating the Robert X. Lee. Westrice is going to go down as he gets stranded inside the base. Wombat Brad getting taken down extremely low. They're trying to chase out onto Arthlon. Broken Shard's now going to be the target as Fabi flashes forward there. There's the pop-up on a Broken Shard. Will they funnel the kill? No, they won't. Wombat Brad going to pick it up before he goes down. He's a little bit too concerned for his own life right there. Arthlon pilling out in the brush outside of Red Buff. The ping's going down onto a brush that he is not currently occupying. Arthlon's going to be able to get back. Can he do anything to protect the base? And will Curse Academy, more importantly, pick up their first blue buff of the game?
Jack Smith is going for it. I think he's going to get it because there's nothing to stop him short of a sudden game at this point. But beautiful, beautiful initiation from Curse Academy. As Akali moved forward, they actually caught up both Bubba Dub and Roberto X. Lee with the Jarvan combination, with the Death Sentence, and just kept them contained there underneath the turret. That they had to do that. That was the only way they were going to win that fight, and they got it off. Once Westrice initiated, once he was in the turret, just fighting, trying to deal DPS, he actually had to back out, escaping through the turret, and still went down because of just the all-in position he was in. So that might have been like a once-in-a-million chance to initiate, a once-in-a-million counter-initiation, but they got it off, and they got it off at the right time. They're still incredibly far behind. The CS numbers, objective numbers, Dragon's going to go down, and once again give a lot more gold to be determined. But still, they have some fight in them. This is going to give them much-needed experience, get them closer to coming back into this game.
And you just, once again, you got to give Rux all the credit in the world. That Equalizer just cutting that fight in half and just dropped it out right at the exit so that anybody who has stepped forward trying to deal damage onto the tower or anybody who got pulled in by Satsolo's Death Sentence just got completely locked down and blown up. You know, but as you mentioned, there are very few choke points on the map that they can take advantage of, and that's arguably one of the most difficult ones to do that. So it's a great sign of life that they're able to get that done there. They finally have a Blade of the Ruin King done on the Fabi, so Fabi's, you know, he's got a little bit more of that 1v1 potential, a little bit more of that chase down potential as well. But the fact that he didn't pick up any kills in that fight is going to be extremely problematic. You compare him to the 5, 1, and 3 Varus coming out from Robert X. Lee, who has a Bloodthirster done and has almost picked up a second item Infinity Edge.
The big deal, too, is that mid-turret did go down in the exchange, so guess what? The inhibitor, it's naked now. They can just push forward and they don't have to worry about Westrice going for an aggressive dive and the turret still being there.
We see Rux is once again trying to get that lockdown. It's not going to be as complete this time around. Jaxus initiating on Arthlon. Arthlon going to die over on the side of the fight. Jaxus picks that kill up. Meanwhile, back in the bulk of the fight, Satsalo taken down very, very low. Westrice going to get locked up into the wall by the Condemn, but he goes over the wall and is going to pick up the kill onto Jaxus. It's a double kill going down for Westrice as they force him back out. They only lose Arthlon. They take down Jaxus and Wombat Brad, and they're going to get the inhibitor.
it was a good attempt. They had to make the big play happen one more time, but without the objective defending them, without that turret shooting out lasers every couple seconds or so, it just was not enough. Bottom turret that can now easily be pressured. They now have the super creeps coming in towards mid. They might still be able to fight this off, but it's going to be difficult, and it's really going to be based around protecting their turrets. However, if To Be Determined plays it smart, if they play a bit more defensively than going for the offense, they can just wait as middle lane pushes in with those super minions barraging the turrets. They can eventually have that one opportunity to push forward towards a bot turret or top turret with only a 4v5 to defend. So that's it. I think that's going to be the big game cleaner at this point.
Westrice is going back, and yep, there's Zanya's Hourglass. He had enough gold to pick it up right there. So he's got Gunblade Hourglass at the 23-minute mark. Robert X. Lee has got Bloodthirster and Infinity Edge. I was almost wondering if he was going to get the Last Whisper at this point or not, but he recognized, you know what, okay, they're probably going to be able to get some armor up within the next few minutes. I might as well start building this up. Part of me was hoping that he'd just go for the static shift first anyway, but no, he's going to go. He's got a long sword set up. Arthalon speeding himself forward. They're going to get a ward down. At this point, they've got complete vision control of the Baron area. TBD, they've got that pink ward down. They know that they can take this relatively safely. And Accursed Academy want to make a contest. They're going to have to do it in a very, very dangerous manner. Westrice in the mid lane, pushing over. Satsalo gets the ward into the Baron pit. They're going to get slowed up there by Arthalon's Karma. Getting a decent amount of damage down over to the three of them. And Accursed Academy looking like they just want to back away from this one as they recognize that it's just a bait. TBD have pulled off in the Baron.
They pull off. They send Broken Shard back to base. He was taken to about half HP. And they realize on To Be Determined, why take a big risk? Why do something that could easily be stolen? We saw this happen last night with GGLA versus Complexity. GGLA went for some relatively risky moments, some relatively risky plays, despite the fact they were significantly ahead with inhibitors down, and it cost them in the end. So they back off that objective. A great idea. They're just looking for a chance to make something happen. Now that the super minions are back mid lane, they can try and rotate towards top lane or bot lane, or even just go for the objective one more time. Because guess what? Fabi and Rux are now stuck defending that mid turret.
Robert X. Lee stepping forward. He's going to get the Chain of Corruption down onto Jaxmus. Jaxmus is going to return the ultimate. Cocoon locks him up by Broken Shard. Robert X. Lee is going to be able to pick up that kill very, very quickly. And they just have so much ward control of the jungle right now.
And Bubba Dub dropping those wards left and right. He's got the Sightstone, and he still has Vision wards and Sight wards to spare in his inventory. And they know it's about pickup. They know that they can play the game around the map, around their control. Baron could easily go towards them right now. They could try and push top lane. It looks like they're going to go for the big old purple worm, or even just go for another bait, because there are no wards to spot out anybody. The last one's going down right there. At this point, I think Accursed Academy just have to give up that Baron.
Westrice going to ult over the wall. They show up there, getting a little bit of help coming out from the Locket of Broken Shard. Broken Shard taking this out, and indeed, Accursed Academy, they're not going to get anywhere near this. No contest coming out whatsoever. To Be Determined take about as close to a free Baron as you're going to find in the game of League of Legends. And looking like they're going to head back. Just about everybody has 1,000 gold or more. The only people who don't have that are the jungler and support. Go back, pick up some important items, and then it's going to be time to pick a side lane and push it down.
Bubba Dub picking up the reserve oracles. The last one did just fall out. I mean, they've had control of this game. They've had control of it for such a long time, and it was the one moment of life in Curse Academy, but they still lost the turret, and they just could not lose that objective. Mid turret is going to respond, or not mid turret, but inhibitor should be responding soon, so that will be possibly a chance to fight, a moment where they can do something. But Curse Academy, they're going to have so much trouble defending both bot and top turret, and the mid inhibitor, and just any place that To Be Determined goes to, they will have trouble defending.
So Bubba Dub once again with that Oracle clearing out the same wards again and again, it seems, as Satsalo is just desperately trying to get some vision for his team. Gotta throw a pink ward down inside of their own base to make sure that they don't get caught by those cocoons, they don't get caught by Arthalon's poke. They want to deny as much vision as they possibly can, as it looks like To Be Determined are ready to group up. They're going to push this top lane, rather. They have super creeps coming into the mid lane, so they can play this as passively as they like. And you see one Q lands onto Fabi. The mantra up Q from Arthalon chunks Fabi down solo. The cocoon's going to land onto Rux. Broken Shard thinking about going in, turns into spider form just to force Rux back out. See Westrice initiates onto Satsalo. He's going to get the assassination down onto that support before he can do a single thing about it. Westrice picks up that kill. To Be Determined take down the tower, and now they're onto the inhibitor. Westrice flashes forward. He wants Jack Jacksmith. I don't know if there's a surrender vote coming out or what, but Westride's going to use the Zanya's Hourglass as we see the ultimate coming out here from Bubba stepping forward. He picks up the kill onto Wombat Brad. Westride's going to be able to clean up the kill onto Wombat Brad. And that's going to just about do it. To be determined to push Curse Academy back onto their fountain. They're taking down the Nexus towers. There's no answer coming out from Curse Academy. GG called by Wombat Brad. This is going to be a to be determined, finally getting that dominating win that they've been needing in this league.
And rest in peace, Jacksmith dying at the last second while trying to dance, trying to show them his moves. But still will not be able to live to see another day. Overall, I'm loving to be determined.